The Lodge is a 2019 movie that was released back in February of 2020 in the United States, but it never got released here in my country. I just got now the opportunity to see it in, you would say, closely to the middle of May. And I first heard about this movie from the Cinema Snob, so shout out to him. And he and Dog Walker from Channel Awesome, so double shout out. They did a pretty good review for it, and it was a good recommendation. They didn't give that much spoiler to this movie. And now that I saw it, I was like, okay, let me also watch the trailer for helping me in doing more an in-depth review to this movie. And the trailer is like the new horror movie of this year. And I was like, it's not really a horror movie. I'd call it more a suspense thriller. And it's one of those movies that is in my one of my favorite subgenres, bottle movie, a movie that mostly happens during in only one backdrop or in only one place. I've had the previous movies like this reviewed on my channel, Mark 13 or Hardware, Color Out of Space, Infinity Chamber, the the movie that we had this year, El Hoyo. And this movie also, besides being in the subgenre called the bottle movie, it's also technically a cabin fever movie. Well, I wouldn't compare it to Cabin Fever, the 2002 Eli Roth movie. From I never saw it, but from what I heard, they don't have almost no elements in common. Just that they both happen in a cabin. Uh, that wouldn't mean that I would also compare this movie to The Evil Dead 1 and 2. So no, it's not one of those movies. It has kind of influences from The Shining. No, Shining is also a cabin fever movie, but still, I wouldn't say they are that close. And well, this is one of the parts of my reviews where I like to go through my movie library in my head and try to make comparison with other movies. But yeah, from some points of view, so at one point in this movie, I'll get to the plot, but in one point of this movie, they show like a footage from The Thing, and I was like, yes, The Thing is also like a bottle movie and technically a cabin fever movie, and maybe there are some influences. These guys who made the Lodge, the two directors, Severin Fiala and Veronica Franz, I never saw other movies from from them. Apparently, they also written Good Night Mommy. Yeah, interesting. I heard about this movie for a long time. So yeah, I never saw other movies from these two directors. And the plot of the movie, it's this is the complicated thing, because the plot of the movie is something that I really can't get too much into detail, because it would spoil a lot of the surprises that this movie presents to you. But let's say um, Richard. Let me see who the name of the so because I remember it's Richard Armitage, and his character is also called Richard, and he has a boy and a girl, and he wants his two children to get acquainted, to get used to his new girlfriend that will become his wife, played by Riley Keough, and she's called Grace in the movie, because they previously lost their mother, Alicia Silverstone, which I was surprised to see in this movie, and To be sincere, I'm kind of happy to see Alicia Silverstone. She's kind of become a very good actress lately. But the movie is more about the two kids characters and the new wife character, and they Richard Armitage leaves them at this cabin at this lodge, and then let's say strange things start happening in the cabin. I'm not gonna say if they are paranormal or supernatural or just human based. Just strange things start happening in this lodge. Because I don't want to get that much into detail. It would spoil a lot of your surprises. If you are fans of bottle movies and suspense thrillers and maybe even cabin fever movies, I would recommend it. And one of the parallels that I could see the most with this movie were two of Ari Aster's movies. If you people have ever seen Hereditary and Midsummer, I've seen some aesthetical similarities with Hereditary because they kept showing us this model house during the lodge, and I was like, oh, this reminds me a lot of when they did that in Hereditary, when they did some interesting framing when you sometimes thought that you were looking at real house, and then you were like, oh no, this is models, and then they implemented very very well. They implemented the house with the model one with the real world. So that reminded me of Hereditary. And the other resemblance that I saw with Ari Aster's other movie, Midsummer, was this movie is in a new sub genre of horror that I would say, or better said, that I would call bright horror. It's because it's one of those horror movies that happens in a brightly lighted backdrop. Well, not technically, Midsummer happens more during the summertime, but this movie starts happening more into drab and color coral drained backdrop. But still, at the start of this movie, I think like the first half an hour of it, the colors are very vivid and minimalist, and I really liked the wide angles the directors used. It it had like I want to warn people that this movie has like a very long build up. So when stuff starts happening during this movie, then you are like, oh, I want to see what happens. So it got me very captivating at one point because I was like I started watching this movie very late. I think it was like 11 p.m. and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the first hour and then close it. But the more I watched it, the more I was like, okay, let me finish it. I want to see it in just one sitting, and I wasn't disappointed. The acting is very good, especially from the two kids. The child actors are very good in it, especially the girl which is called in the movie Mia Laya McHugh. Ma- Laya McHugh. I think I haven't seen her in another movie before, but she was very good in this movie. And Jaden Martell, I think yeah, he's the guy from the two It movies and Knives Out. Yeah, he's also a very good actor, and I'm interested to see how his career will evolve. And Riley Keough also was very good in this movie. I think yeah, this is the first movie that I've seen her which she played like a bigger role, because previous movies where I've seen her were Mad Max Fury Road, which I didn't know she was in that movie, and It Comes at Night, which also is a movie that I didn't know she was in. But yeah, she at, at first she was like very monotone and didn't impress me that much. But the more the movie evolved, she started becoming a presence. She was really there. Like I was like, okay, she's a very good actress and she knows how to play inside of her own elements because she's one of those actresses that well in this movie doesn't emote that much, and that helped her a lot in playing this character. This movie does a very well job with themes such as isolation, and is very atmospheric, and those things are I really liked about this movie. The atmosphere, the way it made you feel isolated from some points of view. So this movie I think happens during Christmas or a little before Christmas, and I was at one point I was like, oh, this is maybe like a good Christmas companion. If you don't really want to see a family movie, then maybe you can see this movie. But no, no, no. It has little to do with Christmas. And I really liked the colors that they use and the atmosphere. It was kind of slow in some points. I started checking out my phone a lot during this movie, but still I liked where it this movie goed. And some people would say that this is one of those uh, underrated movies of 2020, or movies that didn't get that much of a viewing from other people, isn't that famous. But I think in my opinion this movie is just good where it stays. I think if you find it for yourself you would find like a good gem, but if you never find about it, then I wouldn't say that you're losing that much if you didn't see this movie. A thing that I would like to talk about this, not giving that much spoilers to this movie, but I think the the predominant theme to this movie would be just be nice, because a lot of things that happen during this movie is that these the people in this movie aren't nice. But still, the child actors were very good. Riley Keough was very good. Richard Armitage and Alicia Silverstone were also pretty good. All in all, I would give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. If IMDb had the option for me to give this score on their site, I would give it, but I will admit that on IMDb I gave the movie a 7. But still, it's a 7.5 out of 10. The cinematography helped it a lot. The atmosphere helped it a lot. The acting, it was kind of slow at some points, but still, I don't think I would watch this movie again. It doesn't have that much of a rewatchability to it. They did a thing at I got to replay the movie a little to see the first 2 or 3 minutes of it, and they did a thing like, oh, this is what meant when we showed this at the start of the movie. Now, don't you want to re-see it again? No, it's a 7.5, and I don't know in what other circumstances I would see it again. Maybe if I did like a bottle movie marathon or a cabin fever marathon. Thank you for listening.